Jordan, if you were living in the 1880s and wanted to go for a run, you'd likely be doing it in heavy, thick wool or restrictive linen. You'd basically be a walking sauna.
That sounds like a recipe for a heat stroke. Didn't they have, I don't know, cotton t-shirts?
Not like we know them. But in 1888, a company called Aertex changed everything by inventing a fabric that was actually designed to let you sweat without dying of embarrassment or dehydration.
So we're talking about the ancestor of modern gym gear. I'm intrigued. How did one fabric basically launch the era of breathable clothing?
It all starts with a doctor named Sir Benjamin Ward Richardson. He was obsessed with the idea that the human body shouldn't just be covered, it needs to breathe. He teamed up with a few entrepreneurs in Manchester, which was the beating heart of the global textile industry at the time.
So, Manchester in the 1880s, smog, rain, and massive cotton mills. Why there?
Because they had the technology and the capital. These guys formed the Cellular clothing company. They weren't just making a new brand, they were literally engineering a new type of weave. They wanted to trap air inside the fabric itself.
Wait, trap air? If I want to stay cool, why would I want to trap air against my skin? That sounds like insulation.
It's counterintuitive, right? But think of it like a thermos. In the winter, the tiny pockets of air in the weave hold onto your body heat. In the summer, those same holes allow moisture to evaporate and let the breeze hit your skin. They called it the cellular weave because it looked like a honeycomb under a microscope.
Okay, so it's the original smart fabric. But back then, people weren't exactly wearing mesh tank tops to the grocery store. Who was the target audience?
At first, it was the middle class and the athletic types, but the real breakthrough happened when they realized who needed this more than anyone: the British military stationed in the tropics.
I can see it now. Soldiers in the desert wearing heavy red wool coats. That had to be a nightmare.
Exactly. The British Army eventually adopted Airtex for their desert uniforms. During World War II, the legendary Desert Rats, the 7th Armored Division, wore Airtex shirts while fighting in the blistering heat of North Africa. It became the gold standard for survival in the sun.
So it goes from a health fad in Manchester to the official uniform of the empire. That's a huge jump.
Huge. And once the war ended, soldiers brought those shirts home. They realized that if a fabric was good enough for the Sahara, it was perfect for a Sunday cricket match or a game of tennis. Airtex became synonymous with British sport.
But did it look good? Or did everyone just look like they were wearing a giant tea strainer?
It actually looked quite sharp. It has this subtle textured grid pattern. By the 1950s and 60s, Airtex was everywhere. They were making school uniforms, PE kits, and even polo shirts for the elite. In fact, if you look at photos of the 1970 England World Cup squad, they aren't wearing heavy jerseys. They're wearing lightweight Airtex because the tournament was held in the heat of Mexico.
It's funny how a military necessity becomes a fashion staple, but usually these old brands get swallowed up by tech giants like Nike or Under Armour. How did Airtex survive the era of polyester and lycra?
It was a bumpy ride. They stayed independent for a long time, but as synthetic moisture-wicking fabrics took over the pro sports world in the 90s, Airtex lost its grip on the athletic market. They had to pivot from being a tech company to being a heritage brand.
The classic move. We aren't old-fashioned, we're vintage.
Precisely. They leaned into the Britishness of it all. They focused on the quality of the cotton and the history of the weave. Designers like Margaret Howell and Ben Sherman started using Airtex because it has a specific cool factor that plastic-feeling modern gym shirts just don't have.
So if I go looking for Airtex today, am I going to find it at a high-end boutique or a thrift store?
Both, actually. It's seen a massive resurgence in the slow fashion movement. People are tired of wearing microplastics. Airtex is 100% cotton, it's biodegradable, and it's incredibly durable. It's one of the few Victorian inventions that we still use for its original purpose without much change to the design.
It's wild to think that a doctor's theory about skin breathing in 1888 is still the reason someone has a comfortable shirt today.
It really is. It paved the way for every breathable mesh sneaker and perforated jersey you see today. Airtex proved that comfort isn't about the weight of the fabric. It's about the space between the threads.
It's the ultimate lesson in less is more.
Exactly, you're literally wearing the holes.
And yet it kept an entire army from melting. That's a pretty impressive resume for a piece of clothing. Alex, if I'm at a pub quiz and the topic is 19th century textiles, unlikely, but stay with me, what's the one thing I need to remember about Airtex?
Remember that Airtex used a honeycomb weave to turn air into an insulator, making it the first true performance fabric in history.
That's Wikipodia less straight. Every story on demand. Search your next topic at wikipedia.ai.